buildings in this area who are obviously trying to make their way home by foot. Some of those have got into vehicles, cars, taxis, buses, but they are literally gridlocked on First Avenue heading north across Manhattan. The reason being that the traffic lights are down across the city, the subway system isn't working, and I think the police are just struggling to restore some order in the midst of this chaos.
What's going on?
Were you actually told to stay in the office, or are people just filling out, or what's the situation? Is there just a bit of everybody doing everything at the moment?
I don't think we're in a situation of danger, apart from the heat, obviously. The air conditioning system has gone down, and it's an extremely hot day here in New York. There was a tannoy announcement, in US headquarters suggesting that people might think about leaving early as there was no electricity as the down. Looking out from the forecourt in front of the United States now, I can see cars coming out of the underground car park, mostly diplomatic cars, so diplomats are taking that advice. A large number of people in this building have left, but a few of us are still here, and there doesn't appear to be any immediate danger of just staying in the building.
Greg, was there a clear sense of that people were staying pretty calm there? Was there any sense of panic? And was it also made clear to you there that we had Mayor Bloomberg saying that there's no evidence of terrorism? What was the thoughts between you and your colleagues there?
Well, that information about Mayor Bloomberg I've heard for the first time off you, because we simply don't have any means of hearing what's going on beyond the four walls of this office where I'm standing in now, apart from what I can see out the window. There doesn't appear to be any sense of panic. The way things happen, we're all working in our offices normally in the middle of the afternoon. The power failed. We thought it might be something to do with our office. Then we realised it was a building-wide problem, and then after that we realised it was a city-wide problem. And eventually it became apparent that this was a major problem affecting not just the United States, but large parts of North America as well.
Spokesperson Joe Petta is saying they are beginning to restore some power to the city. Again, he did not give any indication of how long this would take, but again, Con Ed reporting that some power being restored to parts of the city. It's unclear what parts that are right now. I can tell you that Lower Manhattan right now is still without power as we continue to broadcast via telephone lines from our studios in Lower Manhattan with flashlights and telephone. Again, we expect to go to a mayoral press conference in just a couple of minutes. Mayor Bloomberg did take the podium earlier tonight, where he did say this was not a terrorism threat or not any kind of instance of terrorism. This was a problem with a grid system near Canada. Now, we did hear reports earlier that a lightning bolt had struck one of the large power plants in that area. Again, that is not confirmed. We did hear that from National Public Radio and from the Associated Press. Assumingly in the next couple of days, weeks, we'll figure out what happened with this power. Now, 1010 Winds is reporting that there are reports that most of Bayonne, New Jersey has power back. We've heard some good news from New Jersey over the past 45 minutes or so, with many of the areas being put back online. We did hear a report that parts of Westchester and Rockland counties as well being put back online, as well as on Long Island. Again, here in New York City, a Con Ed spokesperson says that some areas are beginning to see some power. We are awaiting a mayoral press conference from City Hall. Mayor Michael Bloomberg is expected to speak momentarily. For now, we have WNYC's Beth Burtig here in the studio with me. Beth, you've been following this story along with us all night long. What can you tell us?
Well, earlier the mayor was telling New Yorkers to stay calm. He expected we'd be able to get the lights on by the time the sun set, and of course that hasn't happened yet, although we are starting to hear it set some pretty hopeful signs. So I think the first question everybody's going to want to know when the mayor takes the podium is, when are the lights going to be back on? And then the question is going to be, well, if we're going to be without lights for still some time, what is the city going to be doing? So listen up for information that the mayor will be giving on that. And so far we've been hearing from city officials that there's no signs of trouble at all. We heard that the evacuations were pretty successful of all subway stations, no reports of injuries or people taken to hospitals. We heard from Governor Pataki that the hospitals were in good shape. Only 2 hospitals in Queens were without power, and they got generators to them. The nursing homes were fine. Hospitals do have their own generators. And we've also heard that
reporter, in the upper 40s and the lower 50s, the lights are starting to flicker on. Again, And also, if you notice, if you can look at it now, the big Verizon building that is right at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge, that looks like a Christmas tree. It's lit
Yes,
up.
it does.
It really does.
You can certainly see their signs from all the way across. Here in downtown Brooklyn, though, it's a very different scene. There's just a couple.
Particularly important to us because there's a lot of generating capacity in Queens, which can only get up if Queens is back online. So the more you get out of Queens, the more it helps the rest of the city. We are certainly not out of the woods yet. There are still many people who do not have electricity, which in this day and age and in our modern world really is a burden for them. And our main concern is that they take care and that they don't turn an inconvenience into a tragedy. Common sense is what should rule. Drinking water, it makes a lot of sense. Keeping windows open makes a lot of sense. Checking food in refrigerators and exercising some common sense as to whether perishable items might have spoiled. If you have to make a mistake, err on the side of being cautious. There's no amount of food that is valuable enough to run the risk of serious food poisoning. So far, let me run down the list of what's been done. All of the subways have been evacuated safely. The Transit Authority, MTA, did a great job along with the police department. Last time I checked, almost all of the elevators were evacuated, both the fire department and the police department.
Hey.
Lost our feed to City Hall here on WNYC, where Mayor Michael Bloomberg was addressing the press, saying this is a large inconvenience. You have to excuse our broadcasting ability this evening. We are doing this via telephone since our studios, of course, are powered by electricity. We cannot provide you with a clean feed of this, so we are reporting by telephone. WNYC's Beth Bertig was here with me as we were listening to the mayor. Beth, what did you get from his speech?
Emergencies, and so let me just urge everybody, don't use 911 unless it is a life-threatening situation or a crime is in progress where you have to report it. 311 has continued to work throughout. There's a lot of valuable information on a pre-recorded announcement when you call 311. Obviously, the quantity of calls that we've gotten far exceed what we could handle at the moment, but people get back up, they get a chance to listen to the recording, and we've been able to get to that. All city-run hospitals have emergency power and are doing fine, and I think we're fine from the very beginning. There are some of the voluntaries, one or two, that did not have backup that worked when it came to be needed. Nobody was injured in any of those hospitals as far as we know, but we will certainly make sure that we help them prepare better for the future. But the city hospitals really did a spectacular job. EMS services, very heavy demand. Some of the calls were for the normal, real emergencies, and some were for people that needed help getting upstairs, and to the extent that we had the resources, we were able to help people with that. No unusual criminal activity tonight. The normal kinds of problems that you have in a big city. Same thing with the number of fires. Pretty normal night. There were 10 or so last time I checked. Phone service pretty much is working through the city. Some of the cell service is a little bit spotty. Our advice to everybody, number one, is stay home. And as I said before, drink a lot of water, keep the windows open. But if you have some friends that need some checking in on, particularly elderly, it would be a good thing to do. It's a nice thing to do, but people that can't always take care of themselves really do depend on others. And so I would urge you to make that extra effort to stop by.
When's the power coming back on?
Who you think might need some things. Turn off all major appliances, so as the power comes on later on this evening and during the night, there isn't the demand that makes it more difficult. Don't leave candles unattended. It's very romantic to have candles, but candles start fires. Use flashlights whenever possible, and do not go to bed with a candle burning under any circumstances. circumstances. It's just too dangerous. My opinion for tomorrow is that you should treat it like a snow day. If you think there's going to be a snowstorm tomorrow, you wait until the morning, you get up, you look out the window, and you listen to the radio. Our expectation is that traffic will be flowing normally. Some traffic lights may be out of sequence, but nothing dramatic, and that the subways will be working. And if we're wrong, the radio will be able to tell you. So set your alarm for a few minutes earlier, and when you get up, exercise some common sense. It is a Friday in the summer, and if the traffic is at a standstill, which we don't think it will be, if the power isn't as completely back on as we expect it to be, it wouldn't be the worst thing to take a day off. But we think that it should be a normal day in terms of being able to go about your business tomorrow. And I think we're just all very fortunate that people got along and behaved, that the emergency services worked. It shows that if you have good intentions and you really love this city and you love your neighbors, that we can all get together. And from the municipal workforce, it shows that with good planning and preparation, the plans do work. So hopefully there will not be anything more serious in looking back than a very big annoyance. Clearly, we'll have to find out why when there was what looks like a lightning strike up in Quebec, and they tried to shed power load. Instead of shedding load, they called on the demand from the United States system, and it appears that that's what happened. Now, it's still it's going to require a real postmortem, so it's just a preliminary guess, but shouldn't have happened where the whole Northeast got affected, but it did. And I think we should be proud of the way we did react. We'll be happy to take a question or two, sir.
Tell us what percentage of your city goes roughly at power now?
No, but it is coming back section by section. It's probably still a reasonably small percentage, 10 or 15%, but within an hour that number should be dramatically higher. And over the next 3 or 4 hours, we think everybody will be back. Yes, miss?
Do you think it is that most of the power will be restored, if not all, by tomorrow morning?
There's no guarantees, but I think it is highly likely. Con Ed is very optimistic, and the important thing is when they did shut down, no damage was done. Their procedures seem to work perfectly, or as perfectly as any large organization's procedures can. And I think while we will look to see what was done right and what was done wrong, both Con Ed will be doing that and the other power companies, and certainly the city is going to do it agency by agency analysis. What I want to make sure is we learn from this. What would we have done differently if it happened at a different time, or if the weather had been different, or had been more serious, or if some real damage was done and it would have been a much more protracted thing? What could we have done better? You want to make sure that you learn, but at the moment things seem pretty good shape. Sir, you have to.
Normal people's lives will become. The one thing I think I can say for certain is that this was not a terrorist act. I've heard reports about a lightning strike.
The only non-perishable
Niagara Falls,
item
New York, where
I have
federal officials, of course, are investigating
ziti,
the veracity of that.
and
We'll find
it's
out
breakfast today,
what caused
the day that there's no cold food, coldness, refrigeration. It's ham, spoiled ham. This is all spoiled. Yeah. Oh, this is getting ridiculous. That's my America. This is why I pay my taxes and my electric bill, so I can have no power in the morning. Thank you. Thank you, George Bush. It's your fault for everything. It's the only stuff that'll last forever.